On the 2nd of June 2026, FN Herstal announced a new rifle, not a SCAR variant, not an upgrade package, a genuinely new platform described in trade analysis as the company's first all-new military rifle architecture since the SCAR family arrived in 2004. It's called the ARKA, and it made its public debut at Eurosatory in Paris 2 weeks later. Before going any further, the status of this weapon needs to be stated precisely. FN has not announced the ARKA as a Project Grayburn bid. There is no tender entry, no MOD statement, and no company statement connecting the two. What exists is circumstantial alignment, a rifle launched 5 months after the MOD published its Grayburn pipeline requirements from a manufacturer with an established UK production footprint, whose SCAR has repeatedly appeared in credible reporting on possible Grayburn contenders. Trade coverage of an earlier close combat synopsium, well before the ARKA existed publicly, reported FNH UK presenting a common receiver weapons family it was offering for Grayburn, so FN's interest in this competition predates this rifle. So this episode is an assessment of fit, not coverage of a bid. If FN formally enters, this analysis gets revisited. Until then, the useful question is narrower: how the platform measures against what the MOD has actually published. What the ARKA actually is. The design brief is unusually easy to summarize because FN's own framing is blunt. Take the internal mechanisms of the SCAR and put them inside a body with the ergonomics of the AR-15. That's the entire product thesis, and everything about the weapon follows from it. At launch, the ARKA is chambered in 5.56 by 45 NATO only, feeding from Stanag pattern magazines. 2 baseline configurations exist. The standard model runs a 14.5-inch barrel, 368mm, with a choice of short or long M-lock handguard, and FN's launch video shows it carrying a bayonet lug. That's a detail most coverage has skipped past, and it shouldn't be skipped here. The British Army retains bayonet doctrine. The SA-80 bayonet remains in service, and a contender arriving with the fitting already on a standard configuration is a small concrete point of fit. The CQC model runs an 11.25-inch barrel, 285mm, with the short handguard. Both come in flat dark earth or black, with either a selective fire trigger group for military and law enforcement customers or a semi-automatic only group. FN's technical data sheet puts the CQC at approximately 3.7 kilos empty and the standard rifle at 3.9, with a cyclic rate of roughly 600 to 700 rounds per minute. Overall length tells its own story about the intended roles. The CQC collapses to around 735mm, shorter than an L85A3, while a standard rifle collapses to just under 850. The name, according to FN, alludes to the French arc, the bow. FN is also positioning the rifle within its wider digital ecosystem. It integrates with the company's SmartCore predictive maintenance system and the Victor marksmanship training solution. That matters more than it sounds, and we'll come back to it when we look at Grayburn's long-term support requirements. One thing the ARKA is not: a SCAR replacement. FN has been explicit that the SCAR Mark II continues, and the ARKA sits alongside it as a second architecture for customers whose requirements are anchored to the AR pattern. 2 rifles, 1 operating system, 2 ergonomic philosophies. SCAR internals, the mechanical case. Strip the marketing away and the engineering argument is about what the AR-15's direct impingement system cost you and what a short straight gas piston buys back. The ARKA runs a SCAR-derived short straight gas piston and rotating bolt, locking into a barrel extension. Combustion gas drives a piston rather than venting to the receiver, which keeps the bolt carrier group cooler and cleaner, and the operational significance of that shows up precisely where modern infantry weapons are heading: suppressed and sustained fire. The direct impingement gun running suppressed gets hot, gassy and dirty. Derived, though not transplanted, and this is where Ian McCullum's teardown for forgotten weapons, filmed at Herstal with FN's cooperation, earns its citation. The SCAR ran a short tappet gas system out at the front of the barrel, with the bolt carrier's long operating rod extending the full distance to reach it. The ARKA makes a deliberate choice to cut the mass of the moving parts. The front of the operating rod is chopped off and replaced with a single easily removable gas piston extension, reducing recoiling weight to flatten the felt impulse, with the piston widened over the scars to resist bending under hard-firing schedules. The carrier itself is hollowed at the rear and partially filled with metallic powder. a dead blow buffer that stops the bolt bouncing back open as it slams closed. The teardown also corrects something this channel would otherwise have repeated from the launch coverage. FN's press material describes an adjustable gas regulator for adverse conditions or suppressed fire. McCullum's examination found the regulator has 2 positions with identical port sizes. FN's testing concluded the heavier service parts give the action enough momentum that an adverse setting isn't needed. The second position exists for possible future configurations and to strip the piston for maintenance. As shipped, there's no functional gas adjustment. That's not a criticism of the rifle. It's a correction of the record, and the distinction between what a datasheet implies and what a disassembled weapon shows is exactly why teardowns matter. FN has qualified a flow-through suppressor with the rifle using forward gas venting to cut back pressure, reduce blowback towards the firer, and keep cycling velocity consistent. Given that the Grayburn pipeline notice flags signature reduction on selected variants, a factory qualified suppressor solution is not a peripheral accessory here. It directly addresses a requirement area the MOD has identified. 2 further points from the internals are worth noting. First, the locking mechanism is engineered to withstand severe overpressure. FN's own product material cites over the beach tests with water in the barrel. The failure mode maritime trials exist to expose. Second, the recoil spring lives inside the receiver, not the buffer tube. The ARKA does still ship with a standard AR spec tube, but it's hollow, existing purely to anchor off-the-shelf AR stocks. At first glance, a hollow buffer tube looks like a redundant weight, and McCullum makes the point directly. It seems stupid until the market logic lands. AR furniture compatibility is the price of entry to the customer base. FN spent 20 years losing to AR platforms, so the tube stays. Because no spring runs through it, a folding stock becomes mechanically possible, and the teardown confirmed a folding variant is in the works, though as of launch, none is offered. For a program that includes a personal defense weapon variant to replace the L22 carbine, that matters in both directions. The capability is engineered in, but today it is a design provision, not a catalogue item. AR ergonomics, the training and logistics case. The other half of the thesis is the interface, and McCullum's reporting from Herstal puts FN's motive on the record. The company spent 2 decades losing military and security service tenders to requirements that specifically demanded an AR-style top charging handle and AR-compatible furniture. Requirements the SCAR side charging handle and monolithic receiver simply could not meet. The ARKA exists because of those lost contracts. Controls sit where AR-trained soldiers expect them, but FN has gone further than the legacy layout. The magazine release, bolt catch and selector are fully ambidextrous and symmetrical, with a T-shaped rear charging handle and a forward assist. Any AR-compatible pistol grip or buttstock fits. The top rail is full-length Picatinny. The handguard is M-lock with rail sections as add-ons. The tender-shaped thinking runs right down into the mold tooling. The polymer lower carries an unexcavated section shaped to take a metal serial plate ready for any procurement authority that mandates serialization on the lower rather than the upper. This is a rifle design in detail to pass evaluation boards. The relevance to a British program is direct. The British Army's most recent rifle procurement decisions have already answered the layout question in practice. The L403A1 fielded under Project Hunter is an AR pattern weapon. The Ranger Regiment trains on it now. The institutional direction of travel, training pipelines, armour knowledge, accessory ecosystems, magazine stocks is towards the AR interface, and Grayburn documentation emphasises interoperability throughout. A SCAR mechanism rifle in a SCAR body asks the Army to adopt a second manual of arms. The same mechanism in an AR body doesn't. FN's stated logic for building the ARKA at all was exactly this. Some customers prefer AR ergonomics because that's what they've used for years, and keeping those ergonomics simplifies training, particularly where AR-type weapons remain in service alongside the new rifle. That last clause describes the British Army situation during any Grayburn transition period almost verbatim. Grayburn's published requirements. Now the other side of the ledger, in January 2026, Defence Equipment and Support issued a pipeline notice setting out that Grayburn is being directed to consider. The programme remains in the concept phase, with assessment expected this year and no investment decisions have been taken, but the published requirements give us a real yardstick. The MOD wants 5 variants of a common platform: a standard dismounted close combat rifle to replace the L85A3, a shorter variant a personal defense weapon to replace the L-22, a generalist rifle, and a cadet weapon to replace the L-98. The weapon must defeat current and emerging body armour. It must take day optics as standards and rapidly accept inline night vision, signature reduction features on selected variants, and critically, it must be produced in the United Kingdom, create skilled employment, be exportable, and come with a long-term strategic supplier relationship covering delivery, support, and spiral development. Measure the ARKA against that list and the picture is mixed in instructive ways. Variant architecture, partially there, 2-barrel LEMSAT launch, folding stock capability engineered in, common receiver, a 5-variant family is a plausible development path, but not a ship reality. The cadet weapon and PDW variants could be paper exercises today. UK production, this is FN's strongest card. FN UK already manufactures machine guns at its facility in Kent, a lineage running back through Manro Engineering to 1975, brought into the FN Group in 2014, and Defence Equipment and Support describes it as the only manufacturer and assembler of machine guns in the country. Then, on the 28th of May this year, 5 days before the ARKA launch, FN Browning Group announced an agreement to acquire Accuracy International, the Portsmouth-based precision rifle manufacturer. The deal is announced, not yet completed. It remains subject to regulatory approval, but FN's own framing of it is unambiguous. The group states that FN UK and Accuracy International together are the UK's only established manufacturers of machine guns and precision rifles for the British Armed Forces. And FN Browning's chief executive told the financial press the acquisition underlines the group's commitment to UK production and sends a signal to British authorities ahead of major small arms programs. The chief executive of a bidder in waiting does not say that by accident. If it completes, FN Browning Group would hold one of the strongest sovereign manufacturing positions any bidder could bring to this competition. And there's a historical thread running under all of this that FN's own launch material leans on. The video explicitly frames the ARKA as inheriting the rifle development legacy of the FAL and the SCAR, and the FAL as the L1A1 self-loading rifle was the British Army's standard individual weapon for roughly 3 decades before the SA-80. An FN rifle in British hands would not be a novelty, it would be a return. Long-term supplier relationship. The SmartCore and Victor ecosystem, plus FN's armour certification and training support model, maps directly onto the spiral development language in the notice, and SmartCore is more than a brand name on a slide. Per the teardown, it's a built-in shot timer embedded in the lower receiver, and it distinguishes between live fire, blank fire, and dry manipulation, logging each separately. For unit armourers managing a 17-year fleet, automated per weapon data at that resolution is precisely the kind of through-life capability the pipeline notice is gesturing at, where the ARKA fits and where it doesn't. The unresolved problem is caliber. Grayburn's most consequential open question is whether the British Army stays on 5.56 NATO or moves to something that defeats modern body armour at range, with 6.8 by 51 the most discussed alternative. The ARKA exists today in 5.56 only. FN's own launch material says the rifle is introduced in 5.56, language that leaves the door open without promising anything. If Grayburn lands on 5.56 and the logistics case for that is real, with sovereign production at Radway Green anchoring the supply chain, the ARKA arrives almost purpose-built. Piston reliability, suppressor ready, AR interface matching the Hunter fleet, UK production story. If Grayburn goes to a larger caliber, the ARKA as launched simply isn't the answer, and the FN would be pitching either a scaled derivative of a SCAR H evolution instead. The competitive field reflects the split. The ARKA's natural comparators, the HK416 family, the MCX in 5.56 configurations, the CZ Bren 2, Beretta's NARP, are the platforms the series has been covering, and every one of them faces the same caliber contingency. There's also the weight question. Piston systems cost mass, and the datasheet numbers make the trade explicit. 3.7 kilos empty for 11¼ inch barreled carbine is on the heavy side of the class. Many comparable direct impingement carbines run several hundred grams lighter. FN's answer is that the mass buys reliability, service life and overpressure tolerance. How the MOD weighs that trade in its human factors work across light infantry, armoured and cavalry roles will matter more than the launch week commentary suggests. The honest summary is this: the FN ARKA is not a Grayburn contender in any formal sense. Nobody has bid anything because there is nothing yet to bid for, and the causation should not be overstated in the other direction either. FN's own technical datasheet carries a revision date of April 2025, 9 months before the MOD published its pipeline requirements. This rifle was not designed in response to Grayburn. What is difficult to ignore is how closely the platform, as launched, aligns with several requirement areas in the pipeline notice: piston reliability, factory suppressor qualification, a folding stock capable receiver, an AR interface matching the fleet the Army already brought under Hunter, and that FN chose to unveil it and to announce a UK precision rifle acquisition in the same fortnight, 5 months after those requirements went public. What the ARKA represents is FN's positioning. The SCAR gave them the mechanism with 2 decades of service pedigree. The ARKA packages it in the interface the British Army has already started buying. When Grayburn's assessment phase opens and the field formalises, expect this rifle, or a development of it, to be in the room. This series will cover it properly when that happens.